What up, brothers and sisters? It's your brother G World 7_D at it again. um, I want to focus on a little bit on the Moshi and Tiwanaku. Um, Now, I constantly keep telling black people that your history doesn't start with slavery in America. You had great empires here, particularly in South America, but North America too. Great minds all over this country. But you had great empires, particularly, like I said, in South America, in the land of Heru/Peru. Heru, named after the brother of Osiris and Isis. Heru the Elder, Heru the Older. Egypt was here in America, as well as other black empires that just stacked on top, and they were just later. They came later and just built on top from already the monumental structures that was already built here. We had great civilizations here in America. This is why you got to stop this mess that you brought over in slavery and keep harping on slavery. That's not our history. That's got to stop. But I'm going to start off right here and go back to this book here, Ancient Civilizations and the Ancient Egyptians. Now, I'm going to go to page 185. I've talked about this before. I'm going to probably read this straight out, and then I'm going to show you some other books, and I'm going to show you some pictures, okay? The rise of the Moshi Empire. No ancient South American tribe played a greater role in shaping African culture in the post-Egypt era than the Moshi tribe. Some historians spell the name Moshe, and others spell it Mosai. The Moshi tribe was for Africa what the Uru tribe was for the Middle East. The collapse of the Warre Empire naturally led to the rise of the Moshi Empire. Mosai sounds pretty similar. The Moshi Empire of ancient South America is one of the greatest empires in all of human history. On the Christian calendar, it was around 400 AD that the Moshis defeated the Warres and usurped the Warre Empire. After expelling the Warres from South America, the Moshi inherited the cities, the deities, the pyramids, and the infrastructure that the Warres had created. The Moshi Empire started as a large empire and kept expanding as several South American tribes joined the Moshi Empire for protection from warrior invaders. In terms of culture, the Moshis were exact opposite of the Warres. The Moshi were deeply religious people who hated the idea of killing humans. It was taboo to kill a human, even by accident. There was a penalty and a religious ceremony to please the gods if anyone accidentally killed a human. Moshis liked everything on a grand scale. Moshi fabrics were plain, with no more than two colors, but they were large. The Moshi pyramids tended to be very large. Most of the large pyramids in South America were built by the Moshis. The large pyramids in present-day Egypt are Moshi-style pyramids. Unlike the Warres, Moshis were not materialistic. Moshis were more concerned about religious than materialism. Drumming and dancing was a major obsession of the Moshis. Religion and entertainment dominated Moshi culture. At the start of the Moshi Empire, drumming and dancing became the fabric of the Moshi culture. At the height of the Moshi Empire, great drummers, great singers, and great dancers were the most revered people in the land. Pyramids were built to honor great dancers. It was also, you had the spiritual priests too. All right, but it was not uncommon in Moshi culture for the chief of a new village to be decided in a dance competition. The best male dancer became the chief. Dignitaries and visitors from foreign lands were entertained with drumming and dancing. Every religious activity, every celebration, even funerals were accompanied by drumming and dancing. You see them Negroes doing a Mardi Gras. Drumming and dancing accompanied by animal sacrifice was a way to please the gods and to celebrate the spirits of recently departed. Often men who were excellent dancers ended up marrying many wives, as women preferred to marry good dancers. This entertainment-focused way of life dominated much of South American culture at the height of the Moshi Empire. It was the Moshi Empire that most of the musicians of the musical instruments that exist in Africa and the Middle East in present times were invented. The xylophone was the most indigenous musical instrument invented by the Moshi. When the Moshis fled to Western Africa, and Southern Africa, following the collapse of their empire, they introduced this entertainment-focused culture to Africa. Drumming and dancing was already a major part of the culture of the native Africans from ancient Egypt who were living in Western Africa and Southern Africa at the time. The arrival of the Moshis took the culture of drumming and dancing to new heights. The culture of drumming and dancing that exists in Africa in present times originated from the Moshi tribe of ancient South America. I'm going to go further over. I read about the Moshi before, but this is what I'm going to harp a little bit more. Moshi Architecture. The Moshis built their homes using mud, dry poles, and dry tall grass. This architecture had existed in South America for more than 10,000 years and had not changed by the time the Moshi Empire came into being. The original South Americans who came to North Africa to build Khufu's pyramid built Moshi-style houses. The original South Americans who came to North Africa to build Khufu's pyramid built Moshi-style houses. A typical Moshi house consisted of 3 or 4 round mud huts arranged in circular fashion around a central courtyard. The rooms were connected by mud walls to form a circular enclosure. The rooms were roofed with dry, tall grass. Also in the enclosure was an area for housing goats, hens, sheep, and cattle at night. Cowboys. The courtyard and the animal pen were not roofed. There was a low wall that separated the animal pen from the courtyard and the rest of the house. The main gate to the house opened into the animal holding pen. The central courtyard and the rest of the house were accessed by walking across the animal holding pen and climbing over the low wall. The gate to each room in the house opened to the courtyard. The courtyard was used as a dining area and also for religious activities. Trees were a very important part of Moshi architecture. Remember I said they had ancient gardens. Shady trees provided protection from the tropical heat. A Moshi house was often built right next to a large, shady tree. The house was positioned such that the tree was in the front of the house, right next to the main gate. In the hot time of the year, most of the living occurred under the tree. The rooms were used only for sleeping at night. Often the overseer of the family slept under the tree. Also in front of the house there was a main platform and several small heaps of mud that were used for pouring libation. All around the house was a farmland where the family cultivated all the crops that were used for food throughout the year. The cultivation was done in the rainy season. Following South American ancient Egyptian traditions, Moshi settlement occurred along river banks. Moshis built their houses within walking distance from a large river. Moshis built settlement occurred along river banks. Moshis built their houses within walking distance from a large river. Moshi settlement occurred along river banks. Moshis built their houses within walking distance from a large river, the only source of water. The river also provided fish and other meat animals that lived along river banks. In the dry season, the Moshi families farmed along the banks of the river using ancient irrigation techniques to water the farms. The principal crop cultivated along the river banks in the dry season was tobacco. This ancient Moshi architecture is still a predominant way of home building among the most indigenous South American Indian tribes and most African tribes in Western, Central, and Southern Africa. Okay, that's out of this book. It's written by an African dude. And I'm going to go back to this book a little bit. Atlantis in America, Navigators of the Ancient World, and by Ivor Zapp and George Eckerson. All right. Go page, let's try 249. All right, this is how you got to get this information, man. Like I said, this stuff is just, it's not gonna get you in one book. Right? Here, I'm gonna go right here. I'm not gonna hold it up for you like I'm just showing you. This is the chapter which says Atlantis in America. What is the name of the book? Atlantis, Pyramids and Megaliths. All right. Recently, a rapidly accelerating knowledge of the sites of repopulation after the deluge have been discovered. Around 5500 BC, architecture and domestication of animals began in Mesopotamia, the much heralded birthplace of civilization. What has not been appreciated until very recently are older agricultural cultures in the Americas. Let's see, show you that. What has not been appreciated until very recently are older agricultural cultures in America. Investigation of cultures at the Gula Nascus cave in the valley of Oaxaca, originally excavated and dated by archaeologist Kent Flannery of the University of Michigan, indicated that squash cultivation was present as early as 8000 BC, and perhaps earlier. Flannery dates were hotly disputed by traditionalists, but Smithsonian archaeologist Bruce Smith, using accelerated mass spectrometer radiocarbon dating recently, that was in 1997, confirmed the deliberate cultivation of the cucurbita people, a pumpkin, at least 10,000 years ago. This will place the redevelopment of agriculture at a minimum of 1,500 years after the deluge. The possibility of the existence of slash and burn agriculture in Belize is now tentatively dated to 9,000 BC, a date that rivals the earliest known planting in Asia. This by no way means that agriculture did not exist earlier. Corn, always the preferred crop of the Americas, may have been planted earlier. There are indications that deliberate cultivation existed 32,000 years ago in Brazil, but the findings in Gula Nascus do indicate that the agricultural knowledge that was virtually wiped out at the time of the deluge took very little time in finding its resettlement. What knowledge was lost and what was retained by these ancient settlers and resettlers of Mesopotamia and Mesoamerica? If they had the knowledge of how to build step pyramids and erect astronomical observatories, why did it take so long for them to build them? The answer may lie partly in extent of devastation. Knowledge of pyramids was retained, but the knowledge of how to build them may have been closely held by a priest, architecture, astronomer class that had no survivors. Certainly, the infrastructure required to build them was destroyed. It may have taken millennium to regain the extent of civilization and division of labor necessary to undertake such construction. During that time, myth alone had to have held the knowledge intact. The exact skills required had to be learned anew. It is also possible that it didn't take millennia and that the megalithic constructions and the unfound buried predecessors are simply much older than that have been given credit as being. We have cited accepted dates for the astronomical construction of Mesoamerica, and we have also noted that even the accepted dates keep slipping back. We will soon find them slipping back further into a more distant past. According to conventional theory, we should find earlier constructions cruder and less defined in terms of astronomy and celestial observation. Later structures then will be more sophisticated. Megaliths would be progressively bigger and better. However, this progressive theory encounters considerable obstacles when it comes to explaining the ancient mysteries of cities of pre-Incas, from Cusco and Machu Picchu in Peru to Tiwanaku near Lake Titicaca in Bolivia. All right, that's out of this book. All right, that's out of this book. And I'm gonna go. See, was it 255? 255. I don't know if I'm gonna read all this, but this is an ancient observatory. All right, that the ancestors built here in America. All right, and here's Tiwanaku. I'm gonna read a little bit about Tiwanaku real quick. I'm not gonna sit all day in there because I want to show you some images. The ruins of Tiwanaku stand on a high plain in the Andes near the borders of present-day Bolivia and Peru, and within 20 miles of Lake Titicaca, whose builders fashioned a rod tube that Thor Heyerdahl partly used to sail across the Atlantic. He did that, I think, in 1970. He did it several times. I know in 1970. Built on a now desolate area of the Isle Altiplano, a 13,000-foot high plain surrounded by snow-covered mountains that tower to heights above 20,000 feet. Tiwanaku site, like the Sacsayhuaman, is composed of great megaliths, some weighing up to 200 tons and measuring 27 feet in length. The region is covered with a layer of seashells, which prompted Li Pengin to surmise that it may once have been at sea level and was later uplifted by some cataclysm to its present height. We know that the actions of plate tectonics in South America are intense. The subduction of the Pacific plate under the Peruvian and Nazca plates is one of the most dramatic upheavals of our geological epoch. Only 5,000 years ago, a series of severe earthquakes and uplifting along the Peruvian coast destroyed canals that had been in place for thousands of years. Canals that once ran gradually downstream were suddenly encountered by a new ridge of land near the coast that rose up, breaking flow. The rise in land at the time is now calculated to be over 60 feet in a century. The Andes in the region may have risen 600 feet in the past 1,000 years. If they have risen at a consistent rate, or the constant rate, that means that they've been uplifted by 6,000 feet in the last 10,000 years. But if in times of great stress, these upliftings occurred at an even greater rate. The idea that Tiwanaku was a coastal city, the idea that Tiwanaku was a coastal city, the idea that Tiwanaku was a coastal city within the memory of man, it is highly plausible. Whether such an upheaval could have occurred in the memory of man is debatable, but the purpose in building such enormous monoliths and so great a city in the middle of so high a desolate a place remains a mystery. All right, I'm not going to read this other part because I'm going to because I'm limited on time. All right, and I'm going to go to this book, The Incas, the Dinkas, and the Ancestors of the Archaeology of Peru. The Incas, the Dinkas, and the Ancestors of the Archaeology of Peru. All right, I'm going to go to, let's see, go to page 50 first. All right, to page 50 in this book. Now here you're going to see a boat of brothers and sisters. This is the Moshi. All right, it's a boat in the Moshi, the image of the Moshi, and among boats. Okay, it says, I can get it clear. The Moshi were seafaring people. I can get it clear, you can see it. The Moshi were seafaring people, as suggested by the vase painting depicting sailors with a boatload of pottery vessels. This is the Moshi. Let me get closer. This is an image of them in a boat. And you see a couple brothers in there, sailing on a boat. Right? I'm emphasizing seagoing people because a lot of they built these cities at the time by large bodies of water. Right? And our people had a boat technology. You knew the brother said the Moshi was sailing back and forth from America to West and Central Africa and Southern Africa. It is. There was always a connection. Okay, now I'm going to go even further with the Moshi. All right. I'm going to go even further, and I'm going to go to page. Well, here's an Inca fort. By the way, I'm going to show you this. This is all done by our ancestors, black folks, man. Let's keep this real. These bastards have lied so much, man. Machu Picchu, right? But I'm not going to show that. I'm going to pick something else. I'm going to go to page 178, all right, in this book. Skip along, all right? We deal with the Moshi, all right? Here it is right here. Deal with the Moshi capital. And this is the part I'm going to read. And we're going to read right here. The Moshi capital reflects consolidated, albeit potentially dual, power expressed by two enormous platform mound complexes some 500 meters apart, built on the flanks of a white hill. The Juca de la Luna was the smaller and more southerly. Near to the river loomed the largest structure of solid adobes ever erected in the Andes, the Juca del Sol. I might be pronouncing that wrong. The great Jucas demarcated the imperial nexus and defined the apex of regional hierarchy of administrative monuments erected by the state in its provincial coastal valleys. On the flats between Sol and Luna, Peruvian and Canadian archaeologists are exposing the magnificent buildings and residences that flank the main north-south avenues. Extended families resided together in discrete wall compounds with fraternal rooms and courts where people worked and lived. Some compounds were homes of crafts personnel who produced elite ceramics and fine art. Others were residents of noble families. Yet little of the once splendid metropolis survives above the ground due to a combination of El Nino floods and sand dune inundations. The area dried up. Although the area of former occupation reaches depths of 7 meters, the site now covers little more than 1 square kilometer because the Spanish destroyed the entire western portion of the city where they diverted the Rio Mochi to hydraulically mine Haka de soil for its rich tombs. Bastards. Alright? And I want to, let's see what else I want to probably read, because I want to pick out and read it, but I might just skip it. Know what I'm going to do now. I'm going to show you some images of the Mochi and Tiwanaku. Right? Images of South America. You see the serpent image, man. Serpent on the brother's head, man. And that's obviously brother, man. Yeah. Your monuments that they built in America. Some of this stuff is coming out. Some of the stuff has been raided, looted. This, I think, it may have some former kings buried within this area. Just like in Egypt, you had the Valley of the Kings. You had places where high dignitaries were buried in that area. Right? Here's a brother, you know. Now I showed you before how they look like the people of Mali, you know, with over his head and then like the wrap over his head, like the scarf around his neck. I show you how the images that you see. In my book with the Mali, I showed this. All right. I think I did it for an early video, but I showed these images. You got to tell that's Negro, man. This is not even for debate. This is funny that this stuff is being suppressed and lied. You've been lied to, all right. But you can go look at people from Mali, and you see these images. You see many women and men. You know, this is it's so funny. Here's another brother, man. These people just been lying about the black civilizations of South America, just lying. All right. Here's a vase. All right. You can see the image of the brother, but then you go further over, they actually have him as a darker skin complexion. But look at this. Here's more images like the Mochi warriors. All right. Here's the black king up here. You see this? And he have his little slaves coming as servants. Many of them did have white slaves and servants. All right. All right. We've been here. This is our history. You got to reclaim your history, man. You got to reclaim your history, Nazca lines. You got to reclaim your history. You got to reclaim your history, man. I'm going to Tiwanaku, man. Look at this. Look at this little image here. All right. Man, this stuff is self-explanatory, man. But look at this. Look at his hands across the chest, man. Now this is so old, this is starting to deteriorate, but look at this. You still see the mouth, the little large ass lips on this. See them large ass lips? Closer look. The great structure, the doorway, where the sun will shine at a certain time of day, it shines through the doorway. The rays of the sun. Now, Tiwanaku. Now, doesn't the dude look similar like the Khufu, man? Look at this. Hey, man, they'll teach you you're not taught your true history, man. This is South America. Right? So all those black folks in South America did not come from no goddamn slaves, man. They were already there. Look at this. Look at this. This is Tiwanaku. Look at this. This is so obvious, man. This is so obvious. And they write it in a strange way. This Tiwanaku vessel portrays a mustached individual, like he's some strange dude in the area. This is a king. This is a ruler who once existed in that area. This is your ancestry. This is your history right here. All right, brothers and sisters, man. I just want to do that real quick, man. Do that video and let you know about your true history in South America. Here's a gold little figure, little Negro. Ancient, cropless ancient images. This is all built by your ancestors. Stop saying you just descended of slaves from Africa. You were already here. All right, brothers and sisters. This is G World.